Woke liberalism is collapsing all over the world, and in many ways, we have Russia and China to thank for it. We're going to see precisely how a new world order is rising that's pushing back against the woke insanity of liberal leftists, and why the days of the adults in D.C. really are coming to an end. You are not going to want to miss this. A number of pundits are coming to the realization that we really are moving into a fundamentally new world order, a world order that's increasingly rejecting woke liberalism and reawakening the great spheres of ancient civilizations. This is what we've been tracking with now on this channel for last 6 years, the rise of a new conservative age, an age where global populations are returning to nation, culture, custom, and tradition as a backlash against a world order dominated by woke leftist liberal institutions and organizations like the WEF and the EU. And I've got to admit, even against the backdrop of Brexit and the election of Donald Trump a few years back, I never imagined that the entire world order would change as fast as it's happening right now. For the past year, the bumbling Biden administration has been trying to get virtually every nation on the planet to arm Ukraine and sanction Russia. Arm Ukraine and sanction Russia. They have failed miserably on both counts. Right now, as we speak, nearly 90% of the world's population refuses to arm Ukraine or sanction Russia. You have to let that hit you, 90%. And in the process over the last year, Russia's used this opportunity to strengthen ties with many of these nations, so much so that Thomas Fatsi over at Unheard is asking, who is really isolating whom here? I mean, if you take a step back, it's actually the woke West that looks increasingly isolated in this emerging civilizational world. Since the start of Russia's special military operation in Ukraine, China and Russia boosted their bilateral trade by more than 30%. They've committed to massive building and infrastructure projects through what's called the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is fast becoming the largest economic organization in the world and includes nations such as India, Pakistan, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, encompassing 40% of the world's population and 30% of the global GDP. This week at the historic summit between Russia and China, President Putin announced that he was in favor of designating the Chinese yuan as the default currency within that rising parallel economy. Because of the sanctions imposed on Russia by U.S. and its allies, Russia's largely weaned itself off the dollar to do business with China and yuan and ruble exchanges. Perhaps most importantly, though, China's embraced Russia's view, as espoused by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, that this ultimately is not about Ukraine at all. It reflects the battle over the world order and what it will look like. It's being widely reported that at the end of their summit, President Xi's final words to Putin were, "Change is coming that hasn't happened in 100 years, and we are driving this change together." Change is coming that hasn't happened in 100 years, and the rising civilization states of Russia and China are driving this together. It was an absolutely astonishing statement, and one that the adults in D.C. are completely clueless on. And again, as Thomas Fatsi observes, the real problem here for the liberal world order is that much of that 90% of the world is taking Russia and China's side. Shortly after President Xi departed from Moscow, delegations from over 40 African nations attended an official conference entitled Russia and Africa in a Multipolar World. There, Putin announced that Russia would be forgiving billions of dollars of African debt, and this is key, as a gesture of solidarity in their support for traditional moral values and their resistance against the insanity of the woke West. And of course, all of this follows on the heels of the astonishing peace deal and rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran brokered by China. The U.S. was left completely out in the cold. What's going on here? What's happening? What kind of world is rising right before our very eyes? Well, we're going to find that out. But first, gang, you got to click on that link below and try for yourself the new technology behind MyPillow 2.0. It's amazing. Mike Lindell is absolutely outdone himself with a new fabric temperature regulating technology that keeps you comfortable all throughout the night. You're going to love it. I know I do. And you get the same amazing savings as always if you use promo code Turley. A classic MyPillow is normally $69.98, but if you use promo code Turley, you'll get that same classic MyPillow for just $19.98. And that applies to over 200 products in their catalog. So gang, don't wait. Click on that link below. Give the gift of comfort and warmth to yourself, to your loved ones. Support one of America's most amazing patriots and get the best savings ever. Click on that link below right now. In an increasingly post-globalist world, we're seeing three overall trends whereby the world order is basically radically recalibrating. And these three trends are what we might call neo-nationalist projects, neo-tribalist projects, and neo-civilizationalist projects. So neo-nationalism involves a renewed sense of national sovereignty, a restoration of the nation state against the anti-nationalist forces of liberal globalism. So this is what's animating the MAGA movement here in the United States, or Brexit in the UK, or the incredibly successful government of Viktor Orban in Hungary. But this renewed civic nationalism is not the only kind of nationalism that's emerging. There's also what scholars call a new tribalism or secessionist tendencies, where populations want to break away from the nation state and form their own independent republics organized around a common region, race, or religion. This is exactly what we saw in the Donbass region in eastern Ukraine and the breakaway republics of Donetsk and Lugansk. And then, on top of it all, the titans of it all, we're seeing the rise of what scholars are calling civilization states. And these are states that are redrawing their boundaries around ancient civilizational spheres like the Slavic Orthodox world of Imperial Russia, the Sinosphere of ancient China, the rise of Hindu nationalist India, Ottoman Turkey. And so what's happening here is as globalism begins to wane, these three different yet interrelated trends are redrawing the global map and remaking a new political world order, a world order that's far more nationalist, populist, and traditionalist. This is why in the midst of all of the absurd sanity that was going on in our nation with bumbling Biden and the Trump indictment and the like, we can be sure that the world is indeed moving in a far more conservative and civilizationalist direction, and that will eventually bury our globalist elite. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on Trump support absolutely surging. All this DeSantis implodes. You're not going to want to miss this, so make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.